Good morning and welcome to the Ananda Bangalore Satsang this morning. Hope everyone is doing well. Let's begin with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswarji, beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, beloved Swamiji, we humbly bow to you all. Divine Mother, inspire us to be one-pointed in our concentration. We offer to Thee the love of our hearts, joy of our souls. Expand our consciousness. Make us one with Thee. Om Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Well, good morning once again. We'll begin with a reading from Whispers from Eternity by Paramahansa Yogananda. And this reading is entitled, I want to know, wilt thou be mine? I care not if in the destruction of my desires I must shatter my very self, jostling through sectillions of lives and undergoing again and again the throes of birth and the pangs of death. I can endure all suffering so long as, at the end of it, I attain my supreme goal, oneness with thy bliss. What care I if I leave behind mangled heaps of my fleshly forms, broken by my struggles to reach thee? I offer all my earthly happiness in exchange for thy joy. I renounce all elusive joys for eternal freedom in thy joy. Thy bliss alone is mine, alone is mine. Oh, tell me clearly that thou wilt surely be mine. I can wait patiently then 100,000 years, as if they were but a day. Tell me, wilt thou be mine? So here we are. This reading is from the new Path, My Life with Paramahansa Yogananda by Swami Kriyananda. This is drawn from the chapter Kriya Yoga. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. The truth in these simple words has been acclaimed equally by great saints of East and West. It is a truth which every devotee would do well to ponder, for among the followers of all religions, it is a common delusion that mere membership in a body of worshippers will be their passport to salvation. Yet, Jesus didn't say, blessed are my followers, for they shall see God. His message was universal. By the yardstick of inner purity alone is a person's closeness to God determined. What is purity of heart? Jesus defined it effectively elsewhere as the capacity to love God with all one's heart, soul, mind, and strength. And why is this capacity called purity? Simply because we belong to God. Worldliness is foreign to our essential nature. Yogananda had a very profound dream. He was feeling at that time, this was during the closing of his life in the late 40s, early 50s, this great urgency to form world brotherhood colonies, as they called them, where people could come together and have places of worship, places for their children to have school, education, work, play, everything. And yet he knew, even as a great avatar certainly by miracle. He could have done anything he wanted to do, but that wasn't what was God's will. And so he was feeling this great yearning inside. If only everyone in the world, indeed he said World Brotherhood colonies would spread like wildfire in time. If only everybody in the world could have satsang, could be with like-minded people, because of course it's so much easier when one has that support. But he knew that on the physical plane, this desire was not to be fulfilled in his lifetime. And so to comfort him very sweetly, Divine Mother gave him a vision. And the vision was of all of these World Brotherhood colonies filled with all that was needed. The land was there, the farmers to till the land, the doctors to care for those that were ill. Everything was there, everything to create these magnificent World Brotherhood colonies. And so after the vision had finished, then he felt in his heart that this desire in many ways had been fulfilled, knowing that he had cast the seeds in his lifetime, especially in the later years when he was urging people to go out, pool your resources, he said, and go out and buy land. And in that way, then one can have that spiritual support. And so, again, Swami Kriyananda was the one in the late 60s to do just that, to create an Ananda village in Northern California. And then, of course, from there, over the years, other colonies then began to crop up in the United States, then in Italy, Europe, and now bit by bit, as we are making every effort in India as well. And we have, and this again is a way to encourage us. Where two or more are gathered, there I am in the midst of them. This is the words of Christ. And so we can create community. Through satsang, we can create community with our meditation groups and with our centers and in time with colonies, all of these things, as we have been doing now for over 50 years at Ananda. And it will continue to grow and to expand. And so for us, even though these things are very, very important, we don't want to lose sight for a moment of our destiny. This is the destiny of all the billions of our brothers and sisters here on this earth. And that is to find God. And so for us, then, we have to remember again and again, and it's especially this season is a special opportunity where the presence of Christ is so strong that we can dive deep and rethink our priorities. You know, it's interesting now with Roma and I in our later years, the golden years, that this is really new territory for us. Our sleep patterns are not what they used to be. We're not getting as much sleep, all kinds of things. And so what's the solution when life, again, with this COVID epidemic and perhaps so many other things to come, what do? We need to be flexible yogis. That's the quality coming from the second chakra, fluidity, so important, so that we can continue to make adjustments in our life. A lot of people will say to us, oh, you know, I wasn't able to meditate at this particular time. Maybe it was the holidays where there were so many people, to interact with, even online. And so my sadhana began to fade away and actually disappear. Well, as soon as that shaft of light, which is always available to us, comes down from the heavens and creates this revelation in our hearts to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and begin anew our sadhana. And a lot of times the concern is, if I can't get back to my regular sadhana, or I was meditating a half an hour, many hours a day perhaps, then, what's the use? Well, that's the time to reflect on Master's words. The minutes are more important than the years. Just one energization will shift our consciousness. Check it out. We're scientists. We'll see that that's the case. That's true. One practice of meditation, perhaps through Kriya, if you know that technique. So, so many things we can do to lift ourselves up. Why is this important? Because, as we've read, and I like to share, if you want to change the world, change yourself. And there is, for all of us, to some great degree, this feeling for all of these people that are suffering needlessly from malnutrition and from the current epidemic. The lights are back on. That's great. Roma's been running around seeing what she can do, so we'll cross our fingers that it lasts. There's, so many heartaches out there that we, drawing from the inspiration of Master's vision, he couldn't get around, even though he was a blissful, omnipresent Master. Through a miracle, of course, he could have, but going by the laws, the spiritual laws, he couldn't get all around to every soul and create in them this thirst to remold their lives, refashion lives ideally. But what did he do? He prayed and he put his energy into that thought. What can I do? And what did he say? Little do people know what radical changes are possible through prayer. And so to love our God, with our heart, mind, soul, and strength, is to be one-pointed and to keep in mind, as it says in the Gita, that when higher duty calls, and the highest duty is to seek God, when higher duty calls, then lesser duties need to be put to the side. And, that can be subtle. That can be a bit of a task for us. We're at work, and all of a sudden we feel this joy. What do? We've got these pressures and so forth. As much as we can, we want first to immerse ourselves, even for a few moments, in that joy, to rekindle that yearning for God. And then we find, I really feel it's a miracle, again and again, that by seeking first the kingdom of God, then it's true. All these things shall be added unto you, including the exacting duties that we have, whether we're householders or monastics or at work, in corporate, whatever it might be. We experiment boldly, courageously. It takes that over and over and over and over again as needed until we are convinced that first, our loyalty, as Yogananda said, loyalty is the first law of God, which means concentration. That first, we want to hold on to Guru's feet, hold on to Divine Mother's feet, and then somehow our life will come together. And it really is a matter of understanding and experiencing that the fruit of meditation is growing intuition, and it's always changing. Sometimes the joy will come and we feel that the inspiration is to continue working on whatever project we're working on with that bliss. Wonderful. Other times it's no, leave it to the side for a moment. This is a time to wrap oneself, to immerse oneself in bliss. And then everything will fall into place. And so when we have, and again, here in India, when you have so many supercharged festivals and times to really open that door of the heart, of the mind, and dive deep into spirit. Here we have again Christmas, which is celebrated all throughout the world. Millions of people are joined together, even in these times of trial, in doing what they can to go beneath the superficial aspects of the holiday, which of course are a joy too, with giving presents and the Christmas tree, and in the West, eggnog. I don't know if you have that here in India. All of these things, they're wonderful, they're sweet. But let's not forget, and that's why Yogananda, and it's this upcoming weekend that we'll be having the all-day meditation, that we understand that he put together this tradition, this annual tradition of meditating all day long, 8 hours, in order to drive home, which is so important, that thought that it's God first. And then from there, with that joy, then we spend time with our loved ones, online or otherwise, and enjoy, the gift giving, all the things that are aspects of so many celebrations that are meant for us to go deep. And so purity of heart, it's very, very important. A lot of people will say to us, especially those that are either, they've read the autobiography of a yogi, they've read that chapter of Kriya Yoga and have been very intrigued by it. Perhaps they became Kriya Yogis through initiation, whatever it might be. But more and more, we begin to really feel that this heart has to be open. As Sri Yukteswar Yogananda's guru said, you can't even take a step on the spiritual path until that devotion begins to grow. And isn't it interesting that Yogananda said one of the very, very helpful aids in growing and expanding our devotion is satsang. And if you think about it, just logically, if not intuitively, it makes good sense, because then you've got that support of our brothers and sisters that are all wanting the same thing. As Swamiji said so many times, he would be giving a satsang, he would say in so many words, I see you all as angels. As Master himself said, if only you could see what I see you all as lights. And when we get together in whatever way we can these days, then we find that the experience is very, very powerful. And we remember where two or more are gathered, there I am in the midst of them. And so for us, what can we do to grow the love of the heart? What can we do to tap into that joy? Yogananda said the most important quality is sincerity. We need to have sincerity. And he said we need to have devotion. And so with that, then it becomes the number one priority of every day, as much as we can, every minute and every hour of every day, to keep our hearts open so that we aren't perhaps bewildered by what is it, as the yogis recommend, to live in the spine, the astral spine where the chakras reside. We can start right here in the center of the chest, where we find the heart chakra. And as it opens up, and as that joy grows, and as that love grows, we find how it marvelously, quite an understatement, joyously is able to influence our thoughts and that which we do. You know, I was thinking that if the politicians are not getting a lot of support these days because they're so greedy and other things, I won't get into that now. And there's no reason for that, because there's enough for everyone. And yet, if they had a little more joy, or in some cases, and perhaps many cases, any joy, they wouldn't be acting the way that they would be acting. Because joy animates the heart's love. And as the heart's love opens up, then the natural fruit of that is growing compassion. And so these politicians and people in leadership positions, then they would understand, oh my gosh, I didn't come in to this lofty position of government to become rich or richer. I came to serve. Oh my God, how could have I forgotten that? How could have I forgotten that? Like that incredible song, Amazing Grace. If you ever have a chance, if you don't know it, then you can learn it from the internet. Amazing Grace. It's a beautiful, beautiful tune. And it's about this, fellow, a captain, who owned a slave ship. And at one point, God and the great ones came down and gave him the shock of his life, which was to say, do you see what you're doing? Do you see the suffering that you're inflicting on others? And that was it for him. His life was changed. And that song, to this day is sung all over the world, because what is life all about? It's all about transformation. Swami has often said that, if we went to a movie and there was this fellow, and he over time married the boss's daughter there and got married, and everything was just wonderful, then we would walk out of the film and we wouldn't be all that inspired. But if it was the same scenario except with this twist, where he struggled and struggled and struggled to pay his way through college. And then he worked his way up through, the various levels of the company until he married the boss's daughter. He ran the company in time. Oh, we would walk away from that film so inspired. That's our life. That is our life. Conflict and resolution. And so these great masters have come to us to tell us and to show us and to give us all of these necessary tools, because we need them, to find God. And so we need, during these very powerful times where the presence of Christ is so especially felt, we need to understand that as a child of God, we need to do what we can where He has placed us to make a difference. And we can make a difference. Swami Kriyananda went to see Yogi Ramya, who was a disciple of Ramana Maharshi, back in the late 50s, early 60s. And this was a saint that Yogananda said it was fully liberated. And so Swami said to him, he spent some precious time with him, as Yogananda did as well. And he said, why, with your spiritual magnetism, don't you go out and teach and share your grace with the multitudes? And Swami and Yogi Ramya said very simply, well, this is where God has chosen to put me. And that was it. Like Babaji, he's behind the scenes, and yet we don't know the power of these great omnipresent blissful yogis, what they are doing. They are keeping this world in balance. It's out of balance as it is. Nevertheless, through their power, they are keeping things still in a state of equilibrium. And we know this because, again, the world hasn't burst into flames by all that we have done to poor Mother Nature and to one another. Because the saints, God, who of course is as Master said, is the real guru, God and the great ones, they're constantly flowing into every cell, including our own selves, of course, their bliss, their encouragement, their comfort, their love, and inspiring us to do what we can to purify our hearts. Because as we have read and we know that with a purified heart, then the veil is put to the side and we are able to see God, to experience God, to reclaim our divinity as children of God. And so again, God bless you during this very deep and holy season of Christmas. And we pray that all of you and everyone feels more and more this love in their hearts, in our hearts, this joy. And of course, generously shares it through prayer and through any other means that we can. Okay.
Hey, everybody.
Well, you have a good rest of your day. Happy Sunday. Great to see you all. And we'll see you soon. Okay.
God bless you all.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.